Welcome to another edition of the Bleeding Edge of Digital Health. I'm your host, Mike Moore. Really excited. We're doing a couple new things here today. One, we've got our first, actually our second international guests, plural. We've got Miss Dr. Carolyn Lam and James Hare. James is the CEO and co-founder, I believe, of Us2.AI, and Carolyn Lam is the non-executive head of medical affairs and co-founder of Us2.AI. Dr. Lam and James, how are you doing today?
Terrific. And thanks, Mike, for having us on your show. I just know it's going to be so good.
A real pleasure. Good to be here.
Yeah. Likewise. I really appreciate you guys making the time to come on. We were just talking before we started recording here, and was watching a show that you guys had done for AstraZeneca last night. Really just kind of enjoyed the energy between you two. And when I had this scheduled with Dr. Lam, we were talking, and she said, "Well, James is in the other room. We're going to bring him in." So this will be the first time we've got a duo here, and I appreciate you guys making that happen on the fly.
The last episode of Billionaire Must Wait.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, no, I wanted to, as I told you guys, the product, the company is the star of this show, and you guys have an amazing one. As somebody who has had structural heart procedure in the past, I had a transcatheter PFO repaired back in, I think it was 2004, back before it was even really a big thing back then. I believe they were under investigational studies, but I've had my fair share of echo, and I know exactly what the procedure entails. I also know the, shall we say, ambiguity that can come from the interpretation of the echo. And I also really, therefore, understand the importance of what you guys are doing, and just not just getting it right. It's not just getting, the interpretation of the echo correct, but it's being able to take that at scale. And you both have used the term, the democratization of healthcare, and I'm just really excited to get into that today. What you guys have, I think, is an incredible technology. We did one of the previous shows we did was Joel Portice from Ignite. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with their platform, but it's a very similar landscape and business model, et cetera. And I just think these what I call them overlays. They're, it's a software overlay of a traditional scan, right? And I think these technologies are some of the most interesting in digital health. So again, really happy to have you guys here. What I'd love to do is just, I'll let you guys decide who is the most appropriate to start off here with this.
It's
question.
generally Carolyn.
But I'd love to hear, just kind of give us some background on how the product evolved and how the company evolved. I was reading online, and it seemed like it was, kind of a collaboration of a lot of different efforts, both overseas, and I think there was some folks that were involved in other countries as well. So if you can just give us like a background of like how Us2.AI came about, that'd be great.
Well, Mike, I am going to start. and that's because I just so appreciate talking to someone who's experienced an echo, who understands how important it is as a tool, because it's such a safe modality. It's ultrasound. It should be accessible to everybody. To look at the heart, why shouldn't you be able to look at the heart and see you've got a hole in a heart, or a part of the heart that's not working well, or a valve that's not working well? I mean, we should be able to do that everywhere. And the thing to understand about it is we're human. And even though I've trained, now beat this, don't count too hard, but 5 years of medical school, then we do internship or house officership, and then 3 years of medical officership, and then 3 more years of cardiology. And only after that do I train another year in echocardiography.
In echo.
So now, all of that to be able to interpret the echo that was done for you and done for many people and to try to interpret it accurately. So you can imagine from that story that I was the co-founder who was dragged into this kicking and screaming.
Right.
Basically, I was being told that AI and software is going to learn what I took more than a
Yeah.
decade to
Yeah.
train it, to do
Talk
it better.
about pride of authorship. Yeah.
Yes. But I'm sitting here now totally humbled because we've shown with data and science that it's true. We could get AI to read and echo not just more reproducibly, more accurately compared to experts, and beat this 30 times faster.
Yeah.
All the time that I've been used in training, sitting in a dark room, manually tracing those borders to make those measurements, to determine what's normal and not, could have been automated. Um,
Yeah.
so, so I'm sitting here humbled. I'm going to blame it on him right here, that it came about in the first place. But we do need to mention, very importantly, a third co-founder who's Joran Hummel. And Dr. Joran Hummel ran an Echo Core Lab. So we are people who love Echo, who trained in it,
Hmm.
who published in it, who, you know, wanted to do, we just want to do everything Echo. And yet we've actually digitized it and can say now, with my hand on my heart, that it actually makes Echo more superpowered, more reliable, and accessible to many more people. I think that's what we do.
Whose idea was it that, hey, maybe we should try to, like, because if I'm not incorrect, I mean, the echo can take, what's the average time for a manual interpretation of echo?
20 to 30 minutes, depending on the complexity, by the time we do all the measurements. And so you're right. I'm here admitting that because I trained for so many years just to do it the same manual way, the same way it's been done since Echo was created, I was definitely not the one with the idea that it could be
Yeah.
automated. And so I'll let James tell you how he thought it was, but he saw it when he saw how much time we were wasting.
Yeah. What was the story there?
Yeah, I mean, like many startups, it was the genesis was one of personal need.
Yeah.
So, I had a troublesome ECG reading, which meant that I needed to get my heart, get an ultrasound of my heart done so the doctor could see my heart. And I ended up doing that, getting an echo done, and I actually got two echoes done, and had two different results from two different doctors. One of which said, "This looks very, very troublesome," and one of which said, "It's perfectly fine."
Who was right?
Fortunately, the latter. So everything was fine, but it really piqued my interest to understand what's going on in this process. And it was, a itch that I kept scratching at, because at the time I was one of those health freaks, just like watching everything I eat, getting my blood taken every couple of months. I knew everything about my body, except I came to realize the one thing that's most likely to kill me, which is my heart, because we
Right.
don't get our heart imaged, visualized. And
Yeah.
I remember sitting there wondering, why is this? And after talking with Carolyn, the other co-founder, getting a tour of the back rooms of the hospital systems, I understood why we don't just longitudinally every couple of years get our heart imaged to know these things, get advanced alerts. It's because the process is error prone. The process is slow. The process is manual. The process is expensive. I discovered this world of expensive doctors in expensive darkrooms, manually tracing the borders of images, ignoring 95% of the information that's in your normal study. And it just seemed like something ripe for improvement. And fortunately, we put together the team and the resources to make that happen.
That's amazing. Yeah, no, it is. It's and it's one of those things where if you're going to put that much time and energy into interpreting a study or whatnot, science is based on repeatability, and you want Dr. Lam, if she interprets it, and Dr. X, Y, and Z interprets it, you would hope that they would come to the same conclusions if if it's going to take that much time and energy and study to be able to be credentialed to make such an interpretation. You guys are, timing is everything, right? You guys are coming out at a really unique time because there's a lot of adjunctive technologies, whether it's these handheld butterfly ultrasound devices that, I was thinking in my head last night. I was like, you theoretically could send a physician on a missionary trip with a bag full of those butterfly devices and a laptop loaded with your guys' software, and he or she would be pretty much self-sufficient.
Oh my gosh, I just love that you articulated that idea because that was our moonshot aim
Yeah.
and goal when we started. And it's amazing how quickly it's become reality. I think, frankly,
Yeah.
COVID has helped because of all the remote care and the emphasis of point of care, ultrasound POCUS is what we
Yep.
call it. And so here we have the hardware being developed at rapid pace that can do everything this big honker cart echo machine can do, all in something so nifty. You can just put in your purse, you can just connect it to your smartphone, even the probe. And
Yeah.
here we have the software that basically can read it like a pro for you. And
Yeah.
once you have like the best hardware and the best software, you've got something that can now really go all over and allow screening at scale. I liken it to the electrocardiogram. I mean,
Yeah.
decades ago, you could only get an electrocardiogram, that electrical activities of the heart, in a heart hospital or with a cardiologist. In the same way with an echo, it was highly manual. I used to carry metal calipers in my medical student coat, take
Yeah.
them out and literally be measuring the intervals and the heights of the waves and so
Yeah.
on. And now, I mean, are you wearing an Apple Watch or one of these other?
Yeah.
Now,
No. Yeah. No.
because
It's
the
on your wrist
hardware,
now.
yeah,
Yeah.
the hardware is there to detect those electrical rhythms very reliably, and the software to be able
Yeah.
to automatically measure those things. I don't need those calipers anymore, just automatically measured, and therefore spit out a hey, something's not right, your rhythm's not regular. Just that. We have
Yeah.
done for Echo basically the same thing.
Yeah.
It
Yeah. And
automatically
then you've got the
analyzes.
cloud, which can hold the data
Yes.
sets to be able to build the AI platform or algorithm off of that says, okay, now we're not just going to compare this to what we think is normal. We're going to compare it to historically. We can retrospectively apply that to all the different echoes and build a data set and start
Yeah.
making it that much smarter of a of a program, right?
And there are other elements as well. I mean, I think your larger point is spot on. Is in startups, it's just as bad to be too early as it is too late, right? And
Mm,
we were very fortunate to hit a couple of secular trends right at the right time. So one
mhm,
was the mobilization or miniaturization of technology. Just technologies following Moore's law of getting cheaper and smaller and more
mm,
powerful. Second was the cloud aspects that you mentioned,
mm,
sort of being able to manage vast amounts of data. And frankly, the third was the maturation of AI technologies. We've all benefited from this wealth of open source tech coming out of the Googles of the world that, they provide these tools to the rest of us that we benefit from. And then we can take these generic machine learning based frameworks and tools and specialize them to our verticals, our niches. And that's what we did with AI and Echo.
Yeah, that's incredible. So I'd love to do this with one of my favorite things about digital health everybody views it as such a very complex space, and it is. Technology is very complex, but when you look at it from a 50,000 foot view, it's always fun to look and you see just how simplified it really has made things. And so correct me if I'm wrong, but so if a patient gets an echo, they go see a sonographer, they get their echo, the information gets sent to a physician, they spend 20-30 minutes interpreting it. What is it? I think it was 240, 250 clicks on a computer. They're measuring things digitally, and then they're going to come up with a result, and it's going to be what, maybe a 20-30% variance, and then so really, you get an answer, but you don't know if it's the right answer. with yours, it's as easy as the sonographer who technically could be in a pinch. I could be my own sonographer if I had a butterfly device. You could sit here and tell me, no, you go between the third rib, the fourth rib, whatever. You could see the image on the phone. I could be showing you. I
Yeah.
could take that image, send it to you guys. You hit one click on the computer. How it takes what a couple 20 seconds, 30 seconds in it, and tell me everything it's capable of spitting out after as a result of that.
Cool. I'm gonna agree with everything you said, Mike, except we hit one click. Can you believe that now it's zero click?
Oh
Like,
wow.
like if you
It's
saw
just
what we used
automatic.
to do about 250 clicks to one click, we've literally it's like it fully automated now.
That's
But let
unbelievable.
me yeah. So what
Yeah.
happens is sonographer, nurse, selfie, get your own images, give
Yep.
it to us from
Sophie, I love
any,
that.
honestly, from any hardware, as long as it's a DICOM file. And what we do is first we recognize which part of the heart we're looking at. We chop up the frames, we recognize the views. You have to start by that. And then all the annotations are automated, measurements applied are automated, and the interpretation against guidelines are fully computerized in it. And you know what, Mike? I love what you said about simplification of what this does.
Yeah.
It just automates what we do manually. There's no black box about our approach. And that's very important.
It takes the element of human error out of the equation.
Exactly. It's just simply automating what we did manually, therefore making it more reliable, but not forcing a doctor or a patient or anyone to take a leap of faith that we actually don't know why the computer's recognizing this as a cat and that as a dog. We can tell you why, and you can see why. It's the way we've traced out the nose, and the nose is this shape, and you can edit it. So it's not a in a self-driving car analogy. We're not saying hands off the wheel. We're saying you can understand how it works, you can take control anytime. And
Yeah.
it's fully explainable. So
And it works
yeah,
for the novice. So I mean,
yeah.
we it's just very impressive to see. We have our engineers, constantly testing and pushing the limits of the technology. But I mean, it's just frankly impressive to see a guy, a coder who a week ago couldn't even find his heart, suddenly just do his own medical selfie and come out with a complete echo report.
That's unbelievable. I'd have to believe there's kind of an aha moment when you show this to like a tenured cardiologist uh, such as yourself, Dr. Lamb. What do they say?
Oh, it wasn't after. It was more like, oh phew. And that was showing it to one of my most esteemed colleagues who runs one of the most respected echo core labs in the world. I remember when we first took the software in and wanted to show him.
We were nervous.
Oh my.
Yeah, I bet you were like interested to see what the response would be, right?
And he was hands folded, sitting back like come on, I've done this for years. You're not going to show me, that's how it started. But it's just so nice that from there, I can truly say, I mean, his lab ran the validation study that led to FDA clearance. We're now doing so many projects with him. In his words, he kind of said it takes a lot to knock my socks off, and
Yeah.
it's all he had to say. And we were just like, ah.
I mean, the thing is, I was just going to say the thing about the industry is, I mean, there's a lot of well merited skepticism, about these new tools, new AI technologies, and it's the burden is on us to prove that what we have done is useful and it works. And so, but once we push beyond that, once people actually see it, it's just the best feeling in the world. And the reality is that everybody in this, as skeptical as they are, everyone knows what the future is.
Yeah,
It's just a matter of how soon we're
yeah.
going to get there.
Yeah, I mean, the scientific process is pessimistic for a reason. I mean, and so yeah, it's standard of care is going to be standard of care until you can disprove that it's no longer it merits being the standard of care. And
Rightfully so.
that, yeah, exactly. But that's why when I was watching this stuff last night, I was just like, wow, like what these guys did in such. I mean, when was the company founded again?
August 2017.
What you guys have done in 5 years is I mean, it has taken leaps and bounds. And again, it's timing is everything. You guys threaded an unbelievable needle. Like you couldn't have picked a better time to bring a technology out like this. Let's talk a little bit about says I think I always like to make sure people understand kind of what the product is before we get into use case. Obviously there's standard heart failure is like the what you're going after here. I think, but there's subsets of heart failure. Some are trickier than others. Preserved EF is an interesting.
Heard of that?
That to me, I seems like that would be almost not the target market, because obviously heart failure in general is your target market, but that's probably where you guys make the biggest impact, I would think.
Oh my, that what a insightful comment you just made. So heart failure with preserved ejection fraction, and please, you got to stop me if I'm going on too much because it's a topic I'm so
James is
so
probably
passionate
like, I should
about.
have gone back to travel.
Oh, I'm so gonna talk about it. Okay, well,
No. This is important stuff, though. I think it's one of the harder subsets of heart failure to diagnose, if I'm not correct.
you're so right. And it's the growing proportion and already the predominant form of heart failure in all
Is
our
it
Asian
really? I didn't know
societies.
that.
In the US, it is. It's predominant now. So basically, when
And
we
in
say someone,
females, right?
yes,
That's the
yes,
predominant form in females. Yeah.
yeah, when we say someone has heart failure, it's like the first thing to understand is we're not talking about a heart attack. We're not talking about cardiac arrest. We're talking about a chronic organ failure problem, like kidney failure. People immediately
Yeah.
understand how
Renal failure.
serious
Yeah.
that is. Yeah. And it can be a chronic issue. So heart failure is the same. And you can imagine, I think the analogy is like, let's say our body system's like a pool with a pump and suctions, So how you keep the water turning over well, you need to have the pump that's working well. But you also need that when there's an overflow, that the suction brings it back and then pumps and things go round. Now, it's easy to understand heart failure if you think the heart is weak, right? So ejection function or fraction is like weak. So the pump is defective, right? So that's easy to
Meaning that
understand.
it won't contract, right?
Yeah, it won't contract, it's just weak, boggy and weak. Now, that is one type of heart failure, but you still can have heart failure if your heart is still pumping correctly. So, in the pool analogy, suppose the pump is still working, but the suction is not, your pool is still going to overflow.
Yeah.
The whole turn, it's still going to overflow because you're not sucking back the water to let the pump flow. And
Right.
that kind of heart failure is difficult because here you have a heart. If you can only measure pump function, it's going to be normal. You have to measure everything else, the suction function, the relaxing function,
That's what they call the
the
diastolic.
diastolic function.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we are the only software that can automatically read the diastolic function of the heart, not just the pump or systolic function. Hate to get technical, but it is so critical.
It's important that people understand that these technologies don't just address top line issues. Like you want to create a technology that can really grab a big pool of patients, and by being able to do makes it that much more impactful. Is it done in the same exact fashion? Is there anything else needed? Don't they usually use Doppler when you're trying to establish preserved?
You're now just
Very good.
pretending to be humble with your
Very good.
with your background. You're so right. And so in order to assess how the heart's relaxing and suctioning down and things like that, you do need more than just the two-dimensional images. You do need Doppler,
Right.
and you have to be able to read all the different modalities and look at not just the left ventricle, but the left atrium, the top chamber of the heart, and also the right side, and the blood flow.
Because that's all DICOM. You guys can assess all of that in your software program, right?
Exactly.
Yes, yes, and that's important to understand. When we set out, we didn't want to just have a feature. We
Right.
wanted a complete solution. And you cannot give a full report of a heart by only looking at one chamber and one aspect of the function. As I
Yeah.
said, I could tell you your left ventricle is normal, and you still could get heart failure because of the right side or because the
Right.
relaxation function is not normal. So we wanted something that could give you that full report of all four chambers of the heart, and not just the systolic function, but the diastolic function. So a bit technical, but that is exactly what we got FDA clearance for. And it brings us then beyond heart failure, but we also want to look at valve disease. We want to look at myocardial specific forms of disease, all of which is in the works. And in fact, if you get our product, we might throw in the investigational parts that already
Right.
have all of these developed as well. So really, it just keeps opening new doors.
That's one of the questions I was going to ask is what are the plans beyond just heart failure? You guys are looking at valvular disease, anything else that's on the horizon or that you guys are studying currently?
Yes, absolutely. So valvular disease, we're also looking at this very specific form of echo imaging known as strain imaging. We've already developed that, and we're just looking to validate that as well. And that's able to detect very, very subtle forms of dysfunction that again help to get an earlier and earlier diagnosis of other things like coronary artery disease. And then there's a whole lot more, from then on, we deliberately have named ourselves Us2.AI, where the us, the US part, it actually stands for ultrasound. So we've kind of moved not just echo, but perhaps after that, I mean, the heart's one of the hardest organs. If we were to move to the carotids, it's just sitting there, waiting to be measured. And
Yeah.
we can tell if there's blockages there. How about if we move to other organs that are not as complex and not moving all over the place and beating in so many, ways? So there's really a lot to go.
Needless to say, the product roadmap is full. There's a lot coming down.
Yeah, no, I mean, because that's where I was going with it. I was thinking in my head, I'm like, you could go, I mean, you wouldn't once you learn how to build the algorithm, then it's just applying it to different scans and different and I don't want to make it sound simple because it's not, but I mean it product roadmap is there. The process you have to go through to develop said product. Could you apply that to renal? Could you apply that to liver? Could you apply that to any of the other organs in the body?
No, absolutely. I mean, you see it in a lot of software development companies. I mean, once you have that sort of baseline platform, we're starting to get really positive returns to the scale that we've reached now. So we're able to very easily apply it to other organs or just, adding on to the roadmap of the existing product. Basically, the pace of development internally, thankfully,
It's
is
good.
increasing,
Yeah.
which is very good.
How big is the company?
So we are now 24 people, and we're spread out all over the world. We've kind of taken advantage of the whole COVID thing to allow people to live and work where they want in every time zone. And for us, it's actually a huge advantage. It just gives us the geographical spread to cover all of our customers' needs, no matter where they are 24/7.
Yeah, and it's people talk about time zones, but I don't know. We all work so much anyways that it's like it's seriously. I mean, it's not. It's maybe that's sad to admit, but I had no problem scheduling this with you guys, and you're in Singapore
Yeah.
Thursday of last week. I did a podcast with Steven Sheeler from Omniscient, which I don't know if you guys know that company. It's a very similar type technology with a neuro application, a mapping, AI mapping system. Really cool technology. But it was like it wasn't any different to tape that show or this show or to schedule these these podcasts. And so I think we all work so much anyways that
Yeah,
it's like you send an email, and then if I send an email to you guys in the morning, I might get it back, when I'm walking into my house later that evening. I might not get it back an hour, but it's really it's a totally different world we live in, and I've been shocked as how uninhibiting the physical barrier is. It's just not. It doesn't seem. It's exciting to hear that companies, early stage companies especially, are taking advantage of that, because what it does is you're no longer bound to the talent pool in Singapore, right?
exactly. And if I may, you've hit on such a critical point as well that an AI solution offers. We literally offer a virtual Echo Core lab.
Yeah,
So gone are the days where if you want someone's second opinion, you know what we'd have to do? We'd have to burn the images of the Echo onto a CD, snail mail that CD to some expert somewhere, hope it gets there, and then get that manual process done there and so on. But imagine now you've got an FDA cleared solution that's been compared to the top echo labs in the world, and it's right there,
yeah.
24/7, automated, fully automated.
You could give your assessment of it and then pull up the software and see what the software says,
Yeah,
and you've got your
Exactly.
second opinion right there. That's
yeah.
incredible.
And I think advances like that, when you think about it, it should have been a no-brainer. I mean, as I said, I'm humble. I was
Yeah,
doing it the same way for so long. You just don't question it could be done different. But now that I can see how it can and is being done different, there's just no way we would go back to the manual way. Why?
yeah. Not with the efficiencies that it drives.
And as things are escalating and as more and more people are using our software, the pace of development too, goes along. So it's the scalability of this whole thing is really, really astounding to me. To me, as a humble cardiologist who touched one patient at a time, to realize what technology has enabled us to do on a scale I just I never dreamed possible, but I'm seeing it happen.
And it's neat to see that it's happening. You guys are doing it here. It's neat. Like I said, there's neuro companies out there. There's companies doing it. You hit fast forward 5 years from now, it's going to be unreal what's out there, because in all of the different regimens there is, or specialties, there's this type of innovation going on, and I think it's going to hit fast forward on that VCR button real quick. We're going to start, moving in light years. I would love to just pick your guys' brain on commercially. Is it available worldwide? How are you guys selling this? Is it a SaaS model? And then what are the commercial efforts look like from like a sales perspective? Do you guys have a inside sales team, an outside sales team? How does it work?
Absolutely. So, as of today, we're available in the US, Canada, Mexico, Australia, and New Zealand.
Okay.
There are our first regulatory approval was in the fall of last year, and then the rest have come afterwards. And we've been so surprisingly successful so quickly with additional regulatory approvals that we're stepping on the gas now, and so you can
Yeah.
expect another dozen more countries in the coming quarters. We do sell our software on a SaaS-based model, so it's subscription-based and sort of like volume tiers. Depending on how many echoes you do, you pay a subscription. We have a direct sales force, both in the U.S., Europe, and Asia. But we tend to partner a lot. We work very closely with a number of partners at multiple different levels, from hardware vendors to pharmaceutical companies to EHR or CBIS imaging companies. We find that there are a lot of different ways to bite at the apple and to provide value to the ecosystem. So we're very incestuous in terms of partnering.
When you guys were building the product, what was the challenge you guys faced? What was the gut punch? The where you guys are like, like what was that one moment where it took the most intestinal fortitude to push on? Was there one thing that sticks out?
Well, I mean, when you're
In a startup, there's
starting,
always a bunch, right?
yeah, I mean, there are always a bunch, and frankly, in startup land, the key sort of critical moments tend to boil down to a couple of commonalities.
Yeah,
So I mean, like one is raising the funds to make it happen. So that's always sort of a critical point. Finding the team, the sort of co-founders and the key people to make it happen, and making sure that that gels. It's just so critical, especially for a small company like ours. And we intend to maintain our sort of small, nimble form factor of our company. But that means that our culture and finding the right people is just so critical. And mistakes are so expensive as
yeah.
well. So just building the team and making sure that we gel is there are always many, many, many issues around that. um, but so those are kind of the normal things within this domain in particular, and our challenge. I mean, really, the thing was there was just frankly a lot of doubt if we could do it at the just because nobody does what we do. A lot of people had doubts. We had to prove it to ourselves. So, there were a lot of moments where we were still far from where we wanted to be. Uh, and, so it's kind of just roll up your sleeves and believe, and sweat, cry, and bleed until it gets done.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Did either of you have a technical background? James, you're communicating seemingly the business issues. We got to create the product so that it fits into this business type box. Carolyn, you're communicating the clinical issues. Here's what it's got to be able to do. It's got to be able to do this every single time. But did either one of you have the technical background to be able to say, it's one thing to say I need it to do this in clinical terms, but then to translate that into coding terms or whatnot? Did either one of you have a background in that, or did you just hire the right people that were able to make the connection?
This is my third tech startup. And I kind of grew up building computers for my dad, who's run a numerous startups. So uh, been around the block in terms of just sort of tech and software companies. That said, it's my first foray into machine learning, and so we were very, very fortunate in the early days to once again partner well. So we did a deal with the Agency for Science, Technology, and Research here in Singapore, that gave us access to three of the top research institutes here in Singapore and all of their top data scientists. That kind of allowed us to get a very quick start while we learned to walk on our baby legs and hire the right people and get the team
Yeah.
in place. Um, but yeah, sort of the tech company formation side of it, we did have some internal experience to lean upon.
That's incredible. So, in the early days, the folks at A Star ended up just being kind of your de facto
Dev team.
coding team. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's
Exactly.
great.
We got really lucky, and real call out to them for supporting us. It was really, really grateful for that. It was through a gap fund. It's a mechanism that was deliberately engineered in Singapore to encourage entrepreneurship like this. So it worked.
No, that's incredible. That I mean, and it really it just goes to show this how much our business has changed because traditional medical devices, and I had this conversation with a client yesterday. Traditional medical devices used to be just, you know, you thought of the box, you built the box, you packaged the box, and you sold the box. And now it's like almost no product. 70% of of all med device startup products have a digital component now, but almost all of those have there's some partnership, there's some other needed entity to make that thing go. If whether it's we've got this software program, but we use these guys hardware, or we use their program to help accommodate or accomplish what we need to accomplish. Business development used to not be a big thing in this business, but it was more like just a mergers and acquisitions type role. Whereas in business development in digital health is, you know, arguably one of the most important roles in the company, because there's so many different interfunctional components with these products. So it's neat to see that you guys were able to go out and seek that partnership out early on, and that it was so integral to your guys' success.
I mean, but it happens at every level. It happens, not only on the human resource side, but just the tools. Like, I mean, I gave you the Google example earlier with, their machine learning tools and TensorFlow. But I mean, it's the beauty of the age that we live in, that we're able to so easily stand on the shoulders of so many geniuses who built these great products before us. I mean, every software product out there, and frankly, every company, the way we are able to run remotely now with all of the tools that others have provided, it's just this beautiful virtuous circle that allows us to be more ambitious and deliver even more quickly.
No, that's great. What one last question for you guys? I guess I'm curious. Customer wise, is this I know you kind of answered it a second ago, James, in part because you're selling to pharmaceutical companies, you're selling to medical device companies, probably anybody that theoretically is utilizing Echo or the additional services, add-on services. That could be a customer, but bulk of customers obviously is going to be physicians utilizing ultrasound or Echo
Mhm.
in their practice. Are you guys selling typically to physician offices? Are they putting this in offices, or is it primarily just in hospitals, or is it both? What's the model?
So in our early years, we actually sold only in a research capacity to pharma, before we got our regulatory approvals. Now we are selling directly to hospitals and to smaller offices because, just of the nature of our team, we're kind of doing the big elephant game hunting first and trying to go for the big clients and hospital systems first. Also because it's really our sweet spot at the end of the day, because our products scale. It just can handle scale. It can handle high volumes of prospective patients coming in, but also we can analyze all of the longitudinal echoes. All of this, I mean, 99% of the echoes that have been done have already been done, right? And you have this huge body of
Right.
echoes where very little has been analyzed, none of it's structured, and you can just put our software, on a server and just have it run and go through everything. And those clients are a sweet spot for us, but
And then it pulls that up into the EHR.
Yeah.
exactly, or flags things that might have been missing.
Yeah.
You missed pulmonary hypertension, notoriously underdiagnosed condition, or we just go through flag. And so yeah, I mean, there are a lot of use cases, and we're kind of like picking our battles right now. But at the end of the day, your answer was correct. Anybody who uses Echo, our tool is applicable.
And anybody who may not be using Echo could use it in the future too. That's the
That's the point.
as I said, that was the moonshot dream.
Yeah. Do you think that this eventually will get to a point where we'll see like GPs doing this as a routine check, and like you go in for your physical, they do an echo right there and run the scan on it?
I actually have no doubt. Just like the ECG moved from the
Yeah.
cardiology hands to a general practitioner, once you have that little bit of AI just to read normal or not, just so that we
Yeah.
can screen at a GP level. We're doing, yeah, we're doing implementation studies now in a research setting that's really showing we can take a nurse or someone who's never touched an echo probe before and teach them how to do it because of our AI, and even go to patients' homes and start um, scanning their hearts, saving them that additional trip to the hospital and things like that. So
Yeah.
we're doing it already in a research setting, and we're amassing the evidence that will be needed to eventually make that reality.
That's incredible. Yeah, no, when you guys say moonshot, when you start looking at exactly how big it could get and how easily scaled it is, it's really really exciting. I want to be sensitive to time here. I know we can only calendared a certain amount of time, so I wanted to first of all say thank you guys an incredible amount. James, thank you for jumping in. That was really 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 cool to have you join in. The one thing I always like to give you guys an opportunity is when people are watching this, I have no doubt you're going to have a lot of people that say, this is a company I want to work for, or there may be physicians that say, I need this technology yesterday. What's the best way for people to reach out to you guys? If it's, the website, if you get, or if you want people to email a certain email or whatever, what's the best way for people to reach out so that they can get in touch with you? And I have no doubt that they will, and we'll make sure it's in the show notes for visitors as well.
Definitely, the
Website.
best way and easiest way is the website us2.ai. There's a form right on the homepage to contact us, schedule a demo, and we will follow up immediately.
No, that's great. Okay. Well, listen, I wish you guys the best of luck. You have to promise when you guys bring out the next 2 or 3 applications that you come back on the show, and we'll do a recap and an update and see where things are
We'll
at
have
here.
you do a medical selfie, echo selfie live.
Yes.
Yeah, how about that?
Yes, that would be cool. We'll do it on the show. That would be great. That would be great. That's a date. I will keep. Awesome. All right, listen, you guys have a great weekend. It's been a pleasure, and thanks again for coming on the show.